We're there for you. Insurance companies often say that, but there's one company that actually is there for you. AAA Insurance comes from the same people who are out on the road with you. Auto and home insurance that sets things right again with quick and easy claims. Insurance as dependable and helpful as those extremely dependable and helpful AAA tow trucks. Talk to a AAA insurance agent at your local AAA store or visit AAA.com/insurance to learn more.
This is Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Mitch LaFon.
Welcome to this episode of Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon as we are nearing the end of Mitch Marathon Month. As we hit August, we will be going back to 2 episodes a week, maybe 3, depending on how it goes. But Mitch Marathon Month, where we are doing an episode a day, is going to be closing out by July 31st. So we've got some great ones in the can still. Gary Peel, who of course played with Sammy Hagar in Boston. We've got producer David Prater, who produced the arcade albums, the Stephen Pearcy arcade albums, Night Rangers, Feeding Off the Mojo. We've got a couple of guys from Foreigner, Robin Trower, and today we have got our second double episode in a row. Yeah, I haven't been doing double episodes anymore. And, with Mitch Marathon Month of an interview a day, you would figure that, 31 interviews in a month would be enough. But no, yesterday we had George Thorogood and his guitar tech, Rev Jones. And today we have got Yes bassist Billy Sherwood. He talked to me about the new Yes 50 Live anniversary tour album and his own solo album called Citizen in the Next Life. So a lot of great Yes content there, and I'm going to throw this one out as a bonus. Last year, when Yes was on the 50th anniversary tour, I had a chance to speak with singer Jon Davison. And it was essentially a year today to the day. I mean, it was July of 2018 that I spoke to him, and they were on tour for this 50th anniversary, and now on August 2nd we have the 50th anniversary album, tour album. And so just as a bonus, we're going to revisit this interview, sort of in the process of the tour, and then the Billy interview with the tour happened, and here is the Memento live disc. So Yes 50 Live is coming out, and so I ran the interview last year, and it's just a bonus. So instead of getting 30 minutes of Yes, you're going to get an hour of Yes. And, last year I was on a different platform, and some of you may not have heard it. It might have slipped through the cracks. And at the time, by contract, I wasn't allowed to load interviews up to YouTube. Things had to be exclusive to the provider. So you can't even go to YouTube and search it. So you're going to get a double episode. And who doesn't love, by the way, Billy Sherwood? The guy is multi-talented. I mean, he does it all. He does the studio stuff, the producing and all this stuff. He does the bass playing. We, of course, talk about Chris Squire, so it will be a fascinating chat. In fact, you know what? Instead of rambling on and telling you about Heavy Montreal that's coming up and the Billy Idol and the Bryan Adams tour and all these shows that I'm going to be doing recently or having some kind of, hey, should we still buy CDs discussion, let's just get into Yes, right? Let's just say yes to Yes. And up first is the new interview recorded last week in July of 2019 with bassist Billy Sherwood. And then just for fun, just for a why not, we are going to revisit the interview with singer Jon Davison from July 2018. And so here we are. Without further ado, it is the one, the only, Billy Sherwood. We are speaking with bassist Billy Sherwood, of course, of Yes and Asia, and solo. He's got a new album coming out called Citizen in the Next Life. Billy, an absolute pleasure to speak with you today.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and we've got a few buddies in common there, but like we were saying, Frankie Benelli and of course Ron Bumblefoot Thal. So let me start with Ron. You, of course, are in Asia with Ron. Talk to me about bringing him into the band and what he adds to the sound, because, you know, we know him from Guns N' Roses and we know him from doing sort of more of a hard rock, heavy metal thing, and now he's in Asia. How did that come about, and how is that sounding?
Well, Asia's really, the operational procedures are decided by Jeff and Carl, really, the original guys, and they sought out Ron. I guess they'd done some work with him in some capacity and really loved his voice, knew he was an amazing talent, and asked him into the band. And I think it's been a great thing to have him. He's just a phenomenal musician, great singer, and just a really nice guy. So it's been really, really nice to have him involved.
It really is. And so let me get over here real quick, and we'll sort of move back and forth. But you do have this solo album coming out. This is part 2, in a sense. Talk to me sort of about the concept of the Citizen, and is it sort of a part 1 and a part 2 with these albums, and we see a part 3 and a part 4, or how do you sort of put these together?
Well, the concept of the Citizen character is basically like a wandering sort of lost soul that's reincarnated in various individuals in history, and most of it's factual, some of it's fictional, but it just really provides me an opportunity to write about things in history that interest me, and also just a creative tack to be able to focus on a character in a song and try to build a little quick story around it per song, where I don't necessarily do that in any of the other stuff that I do. I just sort of freeform write music and words and whatnot, where this is conceptually all bound up into one package. And I was surprised when the label called me to do another one, quite happy to do it, and I'm glad I did. And it does seem like something that's conceptually viable enough to do more and more of. So we'll just have to see if there's a third and a fourth one. But right now I'm just excited to have this new record coming out July 12th and see what people think about it.
Oh, well, I've had a chance to hear it, and it sounds great. But talk to me about, you're the only musician on it. Was that important?
Yeah.
Was that important for you to have sort of complete control of the vision? Or do you see yourself at some point saying, all right, let's do Citizen 3 and let's bring in Carl Palmer. Let's bring in Ron Thal. Let's bring in some buddies. Let's call Frankie Banelli and ask him. How do you sort of see that moving forward?
Well, the first record, as you know, has various artists on it and guests on every track. And when the label contacted me for this one, they were, curious would I be interested in doing a pure solo album in, every sense of the word, and kind of do everything myself, which I'm sort of known for in my own way. And I enjoyed doing both. It's a different process when you know that you're going to write something for someone else. You're sort of thinking about their key centers and where their ranges work vocally, or what kind of style their guitar playing might be, etc. Where when I'm working by myself, I don't think about any of that stuff, and I just create what I want to create, and I don't have to ask anyone for an opinion on anything. I can just kind of see the vision myself and just do it that way. So they're different in that regard, and I would bounce back and forth in those realms happily. It just so happens this record, the request was to do it alone, which I don't mind that at all. So we'll just have to see what happens and how it all unfolds. But it's a different type of record this time around, in that I'm doing it all, but it gives it a different flavor, even though the concept remains the same, And
just an incredible challenge. The Royal Affair tour, of course, is going on now, but it is coming to a close at the end of this month. Talk to me a little bit about the tour and how it's gone, and do you think you'd like to move it forward and do it again in the fall, or maybe again next year? And then also comment just quickly about having Roger Dean on the tour as well, the artist, and what he brings to the whole sort of spectacle of the show.
Sure. Well, the whole tour has been really unique and really wonderful, and to be involved with Carl's ELP Legacy opening, and then John Lodge's band, which is amazing, and John doing Moody's tracks and other tracks, and then Asia, of course, and then you get Yes. So it's quite a lengthy show, and it's a huge production, and successful. So I wouldn't doubt that you don't see this in other markets, globally speaking. And as far as the future beyond it, we'll have to see what happens. Things can change, and we might be doing a different type of tour next time, or maybe we'll extend this concept. I'm not sure. It's too early to tell.
Yeah, and I was talking to Carl the other day, and he said that he would love to see Asia record new music, and hopefully things will align in that direction. Is that a hope that you share with him, or is that something he hopes and he's got to convince you guys?
No, I mean, I'm always open to making new music. I love making new music and new records, so I would certainly be into it. And if the band wanted to go that direction, I would certainly endorse it and support it. So again, we'll just have to see what happens, but anything is possible. And I think it all starts from the camaraderie in a band of wanting to hang out and be together and make things happen, which the vibe is very much that right now. So it's a good indicator that something could take place in that way.
Oh, I think that would be great. Now, of course, in Yes, you have assumed the bass duties. Chris passed away, and then in Asia, you're taking over for Jon. These are not just two guys. These are two of the greatest musicians known to man. Talk to me about the challenge first in Yes of taking over for Chris. Do you sort of learn his bass lines and what he did down to a T as a tribute? Do you throw in your own little thing to say, hey, I'm still Billy here? Talk to me about that role in Yes, and then we'll talk about Asia.
Sure. Well, there's a bit of both involved, as you said, where I'm staying true to the compositions that, from my perspective, have to be there to make the music what it is. You can't play da 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 without going da 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 right after it. So I try to stay pure to the iconic nature of the thing. And then there are areas where it's a bit of a jam, and so I can stretch out and do my own thing within there. But I personally try to pay as much respect to the compositions that Chris came up with, because they're great and they're also fun to play. And I just like painting within those lines that he left so clearly to be followed. And so I enjoy, I'm also a stickler for detail. I've been playing along with these records since I was a kid. So, for instance, Gates of Delirium, which we're playing on tour, I used to play to that when I was 16 just to keep my chops together. So, fortunately, I had a head start on that one, getting my act together with that one. But there's not a lot of room for improv in that track, because the notes are so defined and how they make the chord structures and work and all those things, that there's not really a lot of improv in that. But a song like, for instance, America that we play, there's a structure to it and there's the guidelines to follow, but there's a lot of improv that can go on inside of there too, where I can stretch out and do my thing. So it's definitely a hybrid is the way I look at it.
It really is. And as for Jon, when you're doing a song like a Video Killed a Radio Star, and when you're working with some of the stuff he's done, talk to me a little bit about his expertise and learning his parts.
Well, Jon was an amazing musician and creator in his own right, and obviously, and I always respected his bass playing as well. So again, I try to stay within the composition that he provided so elegantly, and then stretch a little bit where it can be stretched, and maybe put in some nuances that weren't there before. As I'm playing with Carl more and more, he and I are locking and adding certain things into the compositions that make it move in a certain way as a rhythm section. So there is a bit of freedom in there, but it's a different mindset to play the Asia bass parts than it is to play the Yes bass parts. They're more defined and rigid in Asia, where Yes, it's a bit more fluid and wide open. So the two are very different in that regard. I kind of have to think differently for each project.
Yeah, you really do. You also have been a producer over the years, and you've appeared on various bands' compositions that people don't know. In fact, there's a Def Leppard single that has you on there, All I Want Is Everything. Talk to me about being a player, different as opposed to being a producer. Which one sort of interests you the most?
I really enjoy all facets of this thing that I do. I sometimes get called to do sessions where people have specific ideas about what they want, so I'm always up for the challenge of trying to deliver on that level. And then there's other projects where they just say, do your thing, and so I can just do my thing and send in my overdubs. When I'm producing, I'm more in the driver's seat as to what I'm really going to do and how I'm going to do it, and that's also a cool thing, because again, I don't have to ask anyone's opinion. I can just go with what I think my instincts are guiding me towards. So they're different in that way. But at the end of the day, I'm very much about trying to serve the song and listen to the song and make the song work as best it can, whilst finding some sort of uniqueness within the bass part, so that it's not just following a guitar riff around or just playing the root note all the time, and finding an interesting angle into the song, in the way that Chris always did, and McCartney and Colin Moulding from XTC, those guys just found a way to make the bass its own unique part inside the song. And so I try to do the same type of thing.
Yes, last year had the 50th anniversary. The new Yes 50th Live is coming out on August 2nd on Rhino Records. Talk to me a little bit about that album and capturing the band live. You recorded a lot of it in Philadelphia that had 10 members of Yes on there, including Tony Kaye and Trevor Horn and a bunch of others. Talk to me about that.
Brisbane was there.
Yeah. Mraz.
Well, we did that entire tour. We had Tony Kaye as our guest with us, and then, as you said, in Philly, we just sort of stacked the deck with alumni who wanted to come participate, which was an amazing experience. And we recorded shows the entire tour. When I mixed that album, I pulled together the best of the best. I wasn't so concerned with this has to be from one venue, from tip to tail, as much as what were the best takes that we got of that song on any given night, and then hybrid the whole thing together. So it's put together that way. But at the end of the day, I'm a Yes fan, and I want it to be the best it can be. So I'm looking for the best takes that I feel like I can work with to make the mixes shine. And I think we achieved that. And Patrick Moraz is on the album doing a great version of Soon. And obviously Tony Kaye is on there as a guest. And then you got the full band and whatnot. And I think it's just a great capture of a time that is in fact, very important in Yes history. And, that 50th anniversary marker is a big one. And so documenting it and getting it as great as it can be was my objective when I started mixing the album. And I'm proud of what we came up with and the various takes that we got. The band's just on fire, and there's a ton of energy coming off the speakers. So I'm happy about how it's all turned out.
Oh, it's a sparkle. Now it's only coming out in August, so but I've had a chance to hear our preview, and it just sounds great. Now the other thing you did. Yeah, it's going to be great. And in fact, I'll just read it for the folks that aren't listening, but it's got, so you've got Steve Howe, Jeff Downes, Alan White, Billy Sherwood, Jon Davison, Jay Shellen, formerly of Hurricane, Tony Kaye, Patrick Moraz, Tom Breslin, Trevor Horn, Patrick Moraz. I mean, how's that? I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It was a really unique Yes tour, and very much feeling like a celebration of the band's 50th, and also honoring, the fallen, so to speak, within Yes, who we've lost and unfortunately, but it's just a great representation of the 50th anniversary, I think.
Oh, it absolutely is. And Jay is just a monster on drums. I mean, that sound he had with Hurricane and Kelly Hansen, holy, those are some great forgotten albums, but great albums. The band Conspiracy that you had with Chris Squire, 2 albums. Talk to me about that band, because from the, not from the looks of it, but on the onset, Chris sort of found you as a musician and said, "Hey, come along, let's do this." Talk to me a little bit about the genesis of that project, and also, I know we spoke about Chris just before, but what did he mean to you on a personal level? Because I've sort of always understood, or maybe I fantasize it, that he sort of found you and liked you and brought you along and said, "This is my guy. Let's give him a chance." But is
well,
that
in a lot of ways, that's true. I mean, my career was already on a particular track before I met any of those guys, because I had made my first album, Logic, which was produced by the guys in Toto, and then I was making and just had released World Trade, which was with me and Bruce Gowdy and Guy and Mark Williams, and produced by Keith Olsen, and we were getting some great traction. And it's at that point that my world intersected with Chris. He heard demos to World Trade and said, "Oh, I like what this guy's about. Can we meet?" And so he had a mutual record company friend introduce us, and we went out to dinner and hit it off immediately. And just started laughing and having a great time that night. And we decided, let's write a song. So the first song we wrote was The More We Live, which was a really great song as a first song. And we knew that there was some magic there between us as a writing team. And so we kept writing music, and a few of the tracks, one of them ended up on the Yes Years box set called Love Conquers All. The More We Live is on the Yes Union album. And along the way, we crafted a bunch of other songs that sort of were about 75-80% complete, but never found a home. And then once I joined the band after Open Your Eyes, we had collected enough material where we had enough to put an album out. And Chris and I discussed it and said, let's put this out, but let's come up with a band name for this thing. And so I came up with the idea of Conspiracy because, Chris and I had such a tight relationship that the guys in Yes thought we were always up to something. So as a joke, we came up with this band name just to play with their minds a little bit. And Conspiracy just seemed to fit in our relationship and how we work together. And so we put the first album out, which was a collection of songs that we've written over the years. And then the second album was a little more defined in terms of now we are this thing. Let's really sit down and think about the kind of record we want to make. And Jay had played a bit on the first one, and Alan White's on the first one, and Michael Bland played a track on the first one as far as drummers go. But on the second one, we decided, let's kind of try to keep this more consistent. So Jay Schellen was the drummer throughout on Conspiracy of the Unknown, which is a nice link for those who don't realize, that they think Jay just kind of fell off the boat and lucked his way into Yes. There's actually a long history there of his relationship in the Yes dynamic, in that we worked really closely with Chris, and he had played before with TK, so he seemed like the perfect choice. But it was born out of that Conspiracy project, which was really something that Chris and I enjoyed doing, and we were always talking about doing another record, pecking around with things, but we just never got around to it because our lives got a little bit busy. But I'm very proud we made those two records and also have that live DVD, which is something that's really special, and I'm glad we have. Yeah. And it's a really unique project. It holds the test time, as they say.
It really does. And quite frankly, I think a lot of sort of progressive music holds the taste of time. Pop music has a 30-day shelf space, but pure rock and prog rock, that look, 50 years of Yes, it says it all. Now,
I know.
World Trade made another album in 2017. You took 22 years off and then said, hey, it's time to make another album. Right? 22 years between albums. You are the Guns N' Roses of the progressive world. Right? Talk to me about Frontiers comes to you, and Frontiers, by the way, great label. They have given us a lot of great music. Your solo albums, World Trade, and all these European bands. But talk to me about Unify. Was that sort of the album that you didn't make in 1996 and figured, let's just get it done? Or was this sort of a rebirth and say, all right, you know what? Let's do one in 2017. Let's maybe look at 2020 for another. Was it the start of something new, or was it the end at the period at the end of the sentence?
Well, I never say never. And, when we got the opportunity again, Frontiers contacted and asked if we would reform the original lineup and make a record. And, we all had the time in our schedule to do it. So we committed to it and did it. And it felt like we had just kind of picked it up where we left off, in terms of the relationships and the musicality and how we all worked together with each other. And we really had a great time making the record. And you just never know again, if there's another record to be made there, I'm sure we would all enjoy doing it again, because it was a great process and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. And I know we're gonna run out of time, but I've got to ask you this, because I've been in and around the Rat world forever, and you have credits on the Collage album that they put out in 96, 97. You even have a bass credit on the song I Want It All. Talk to me about that project and working with the Rat. Did you just sort of go in there and suss through some demos and then just sort of threw them out, or what was the actual process?
Well, Warren DeMartini and I had become friendly by virtue of some tribute records, and he said, we're going to make another album called Steel River, that they had this idea they wanted to make this album, and, would you like to produce it? So I had the guys over to my studio, and we all worked together on that album in my place and made it from tip to tail. And, I got to join the Rat community there for a little while. which was quite fun because I love working on music in all different kind of genres, and I had never quite gone into that world. But it was a lot of fun to do and great people to hang out with, and again, I'm glad we did it because there it is for all time for people to enjoy. And I never imagined I would be doing something like that, but when it was done and listening back, it's a very cool record.
It is, but I've sort of been around the Rat Camp for a while, and at some point, doesn't that dysfunction drive you crazy? I mean, it's just.
Well, I let that stuff spiral around me. I don't pay too much attention to that. When I'm in producer mode, I'm showing up at the studio and we have to get stuff done that day. And if there's any politics going on, it's like take it into the lobby and leave it out of the control room. Let's get stuff done in here. So I kind of manage the sessions in that way so that we have forward motion every day, and it's not a drama, and we just get on with it and make music and try to make the best of it. So I wasn't privy to any of the inner politics. I don't get involved with that stuff unless I'm a band member.
That is wise. And of course, I'll remind the folks, Citizen in the Next Life comes out July 12th on Frontiers. Yeah. It is the second and in fact, I'll finish with this. Now, it's always better that fans buy music, but do they need to have the first album to dig the second one? Are they sort of an A and B? Are they a companion piece?
No, I think, if you jump in on the second one, you go backwards, you'll be just as educated on the whole process as if you started with the first one and went into the second one, because the concept is such that, as I said earlier, it just allows me to tap into various individuals in history. That's really what the concept of the album is about. And so the only difference being, as we spoke about, is that there's no guests on this one and there's guests on the first one. So in whichever order they discover it is fine by me. But I think it's for the listener, it's sort of a, time travel adventure and a movie for your ears kind of thing. So I think they would enjoy it in either format, the first one first or the second one first.
Yeah, I think they would. By the way, do you have a desire to turn this into a movie project where this would be the soundtrack, or turn it into a book where, do you see yourself bringing it outside of the music?
I kind of stay in my lane. I do what I know I can do, and as Clint Eastwood said, a man's got no limitations. So a film producer I am not, but the concept's there if someone wanted to pick it up and run with it. But I don't think I would know the first step of how to make something like that happen. But It does feel like it's made for something like that. That's for sure.
Well, we need Frontiers to open up a video production branch.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do. Billy, this has been an absolute pleasure. I've seen a lot of the stuff you've touched, whether it's Quiet Riot's Alive and Well, or the, what was that Ace Frehley tribute that you had a part in? Spacewalk or whatever it was called?
Spacewalker or something like that.
Oh, you know what? We're gonna leave fans hanging here. I'm just gonna have to look it up real quick. Give me 2 seconds.
Wiki.
Yeah, here we are. Because you've also done stuff with Wiki. You've also done. Oh, here it is. Spacewalk: A Salute to Ace Frehley. There you go. And you have You've done stuff with Bad Company, Dangerous Toys, Paul Rogers. Motorhead, dude.
Air Supply.
Oh, hey, I'm seeing them
from A to Z. Pretty much from A to Z.
Todd Rundgren, John 5. Man, folks need to
Jack Russell's solo album, from Great White.
Jack is great.
There's a lot out there. There's so many I've forgotten. Most of the people
William
come
Shatner
up in the meet and greets with albums to sign, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that one. That's right.
Don't forget the William Shatner one.
William Shatner, yes, he's a wonderful guy, and that was just an amazing project to do. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there.
Lot of great stuff, and of course the great new album. So folks, do go check out Citizen in the Next Life. And Billy, as we say in Montreal, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for today.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye.
Now back to Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon.
There you have it, my interview with Yes's Billy Sherwood. You gotta love that. And before we head over to our interview with Jon Davison, because I'm not going to keep you long here, I'm gonna shuffle along. Let me just quickly remind you that you can get some beautiful Mitch t-shirts. Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon t-shirts at loudtracks.com/Mitch. loudtracks.com/Mitch. And some of you have been wondering about the theme song. I put out a call. I said, hey, if you got some theme songs, that are Mitch Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon related, send them over to mitchminute@aol.com and I will run them. I have had a chance to run one, and so I do apologize for that. I will do an episode coming up, and I will feature all of them if I have to. I have been on the road and this and I just haven't had a chance to listen to them and slot them in, but they will get used anyway. Without further ado, head over to loudtracks.com/Mitch. Pick up a t-shirt or two. In fact, I will be the first to say here in July that Christmas is coming up and you might want to get your shopping in early. Avoid the lineups. Don't bother parking at the mall. Just dial up loudtracks.com/Mitch and grab your shirts now. All right, enough gratuitous plugging. I am not meant for that. Man, oh man. Anyway, here is from July of 2018. It is an encore presentation of Yes singer Jon Davison. And so, without further ado, here is the talented, the mighty Jon Davison.
We are speaking with Yes vocalist Jon Davison. They are currently on their 50th anniversary tour, Yes 50, celebrating 50 years of Yes. And Jon, absolute pleasure talking to you.
Well, you too, Mitch. How you doing?
Good. And it is
I'm
so...
just stepping out of the tour bus here.
Oh, good.
We're at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. We have a day off, and I like to just do a little walk around here. It's really pretty, so I'll do that while we're doing the interview.
A good walk and talk. So talk to me about this Yes 50 tour. Now, the dates run till the end of July. Are we looking at putting out more dates in the fall, or is this sort of, we're done for this year and we'll talk to you in 2019?
Yeah, we've kind of left it with the latter. So we're not sure if we're going to do much work with the rest of this year, within the rest of this year. And that's all I really know right now. I do know that everyone's getting excited to write a new album, so I imagine that the remaining part of this year will be wrapped up with doing all of that.
And that I'm looking forward to. You know, when you joined the band, the members had gone on record as saying that you added a whole fresh dimension and they loved writing with you. Talk to me about that first album, Heaven and Earth, and where do you sort of see a next new album going? So we'll start off with Heaven and Earth. What was that like? You know these guys had this long storied career, pedigree that you couldn't, deny. And here's the new kid, for the lack of a better word, sitting down to write with them. What was that experience like for you?
Exhilarating. Yeah, it was great. And I got to, get to know each member so much better just with all the hang time. I would visit Steve and him and I would write one-on-one kind of thing and the same for all the members. And so that was a really special time to sort of step back from the touring pace of things and just spend time together as friends, listen to music, write music. It became a lifestyle that was, really, really rewarding.
Yeah, and I have a fun connection to that album as well, is that the guy who mastered it, Mayor Applebaum, is a personal friend of mine. So we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Isn't he fantastic? I love that guy.
Mm-hmm.
He did some work for me mastering some stuff I had to get done. You also had Roy Thomas Baker produce the album. And, of course, Roy has done all kinds of great stuff. He's done some Cheap Trick albums and some Queen albums and all. For you coming in, and, I know the word's not going to be appropriate, but I'll use it anyway, as a rookie in this context of being in Yes, what was it like to work with a producer like Roy who has this career and vision of what music should be and could be? Do you learn from him? Did you watch him, or did you just sort of have no involvement?
No, I was very much involved and could, as you say, really watch him in the studio and just try to learn from a master, someone that's been, that's very accomplished, that has gone through so much successful experience in the field. So I did just that. I just really analyzed him and watched him and tried to stay out of his way when that was appropriate.
And it was. So talk to me in terms of being the vocalist in a band like Yes. Do you still have aspirations to do your own solo material and speak outside and still do, Glass Hammer or Sky Cries Mary and that kind of stuff? Or right now is your sole focus just to be the vocalist of Yes?
Well, one thing I've learned, Mitch, is never step in front of the muse. So you don't want to direct, a creative flow or lack of it by saying, I want to do this. You just go with the inspirational flow. So I'm always open to working with anyone at any time if the creativity is happening.
Right. And so what prompts the creativity? Is it writing a great song? Is it a great musical idea? What sort of gets you in that mood to create?
A strong cup of coffee in the morning.
Right. That's.
But in addition to that, of course, it's a whole lifestyle thing. So I like to have my little ritual, wake up and have coffee and pick up a guitar and just kind of like let the morning, engulf you. So the inspiration comes from anything and everything.
It really, really does. I want to ask you about the art of interviewing. And I'll explain. You told me off the record that you're not very good at doing this, but I think you're doing great. But what is it about an interview that sort of gets you, I don't know, stressed out, or what is it that makes you uncomfortable? Because it's a great way to say who you are, and what you're doing.
Yeah, I generally get cornered with the same questions that
Which
I've
are?
Always gotten. So what was it like when you got the call?
Right.
And, just things I've answered 1,000 times. So if there's any hesitancy on my part, it's just because I've told the story so many times. So that's kind of a...
Right, I get that.
But the right interviewer, as you are, you're asking me, new questions. And
right.
So it makes the interview run much more smoothly.
Well, okay, let me take you up on that, because listen, when you talk about a band like Yes or Foreigner or Kiss or Metallica or whoever it is, there are those you must ask kind of questions, and right now we're talking about the tour and new music. That's sort of, you have to ask that. But if you had your way, what is something that a fan listening in should know about you that you haven't talked about? Or what is a subject that you want to talk about? Because I find that interesting. Like today I was speaking with Lou Gramm, and of course everybody asks him about the Double Vision album and Head Games, but we spoke about this Mr. Moonlight album. What is something that you would like to talk about that maybe fans don't know about you? And by the way, this is all going to go on air. We're going live with this.
I'm a pretty private person, Mitch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's hard to answer.
Okay, well then let me ask you this then. Before you got the Yes gig, you were doing Glass Hammer. You were doing Sky Cries Mary. Talk to me about the challenges of getting an original band up and running, or having a band out there doing and getting discovered. Because it's easy to join Yes. I mean, they have 50 years of history. They're going to get booked. They're going to have interviews lined up. There's going to be a record deal down the road. Talk to me about being outside of that scope. What was it like trying to get noticed in today's world, today's marketplace, today's record, what were some of the challenges you faced in those bands?
Well, not to put a damper on the question, but when I was in Sky Cries Mary in the 90s, the whole industry was completely different. It was a different dynamic than if we were a young band today struggling to be recognized. It was just a different world. And with Glass Hammer, they had already been going on. They have a huge discography, and I think they started in the early 90s. And so I came into something that was already, a well-oiled machine. So I'm sorry, I can't really accurately answer that due to lack of experience, I guess you'd say.
So then you had Glass Hammer that had this experience. You had Yes that had this experience. Where do you fall in terms of wanting to do your own thing? Is that something that's important to you to go out there and be Jon Davison, solo artist, or, guy in this band that I started myself? Or are you comfortable being the guy that comes in and helps out or takes over for an established band?
Yeah, it's kind of both. As a vocalist, I'm more content just kind of stepping in and fitting into the vocal tapestry of Yes, in that there's always three there's a harmony of three voices going. And due to the nature of my voice, that's a God-given gift in the sense that I have the high register. I'm not saying, I'm not tooting my own horn saying I'm an amazing singer, but there is a blessing that I was built for this type of singing, just in terms of physicality. So I have found an identity as a vocalist, an appropriate identity in the context, in the world of Yes. Doing my own thing, I have found, honestly, I'm just being very candid, but I found that's been a bit more of a struggle to find my identity as a vocalist in original music outside that sort of symphonic quality that's in Yes. I've yet to... Of course, I've had that in Glass Hammer, but I mean, if I was to just go and do my own thing purely, like a solo record, quote unquote, I would find it interesting because when I sit and pick up a guitar and play, a lot of times it's outside the context of Yes. Even though progressive rock in general and Yes music is very broad from where it derives inspiration, it's not necessarily, it's a whole new identity that I'm still working on to develop. And I would be just as excited being the guitar player or bass player in a role, that kind of role in a new band, and work with other singers. And then I could do high harmony stuff. I can always add that later, but it wouldn't really be Jon Davison from Yes, here's the solo record. I'm much more interested in the context of prog music to work with like-minded musicians that are in that genre, and collaborative effort is the most exciting for me, and that's where I found my role so far. Right. But then again, as an instrumentalist, I would like to do my own record, but working with other singers and not so much having it be about me as the lead vocalist, but as a collaborator and instrumentalist. That was a very long-winded answer. I hope that makes sense.
No, that was a great answer. So then let me take you back to we were talking about the Heaven and Earth album. When you come in to record that, does the band come to you and say, hey, listen, we've had these classic vocalists, we've had this sound, go study them, listen to them, and, come and be that guy? Or did you have a certain freedom to be Jon? Did you have to fit into a mold?
Which Jon?
Right. No, not Anderson, Davison. Did you have a chance to be you, or did they say, listen, we had a Jon, go be that, right? Did you have a freedom to do your own thing within the music, or were you confined, for the lack of a better word, to a box where this is what Yes sounds like, now you go figure out how to sound like this?
No, it wasn't anything spoken like that or even felt. There wasn't that kind of intention because, again, I was collaborating with the other members. And like my previous answer, I was making the point that, in the context of Yes or working with other musicians, the music tends to naturally fall into what is the collective intention, the aim, the goal of, in this case, a Yes record. So, had I just come with my own songs, they might have said, well, this isn't quite the direction we want to go in, or it doesn't have a Yes essence, as I was saying earlier, that, I write different types of music, or when I just pick up a guitar, it comes out a bit differently and explores other genres. So, again, with Heaven and Earth, it was a collaboration. So we were pretty on point with where we wanted to go with it.
Right. So let me ask you about that. When you come into a band like Yes, and they've been around for all these years, are you surprised that they welcomed you with such open arms and said, hey, we want you to write on the record? Because it could have been very easy for them to say, hey, we're the leaders here, we're the boss, you just go, we'll tell you when to wag the tail. Are you surprised how welcoming they were and how open they were to have your input?
Yeah, I was. I very much was. And then, just getting to know them a bit better, I could see that that's really what always kept Yes thriving is, all the different members that have been in Yes have come in and blended in a unique way and have added in their own special way. So, Yes evolves that way. That's a very healthy thing.
It really is. And it makes for better music, because when you have everybody that feels vested into the project, it's certainly a lot better than, well, we're the boss here and you're just going to do what we tell you. Steve, how...
Yeah, because really, ultimately, it's about the music, and that's what I like. They always put the music first, beyond egos or any stupid, games that some might play. It's just about, well, this is a band today. We're 5 members. Let's see how the music sounds with this unique blend.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the band is that it doesn't seem to be politicized. At least when they're making a new album, it's whoever's in the band now gets a voice. I just want to quickly talk about Steve Howe, just one of these, lack of a better word, genius musicians. I mean, just he absolutely phenomenal at what he does. What was that like for you that first time you got to meet him and working with him now and being on stage and you get to look over your shoulder and there he is? Talk to me a little bit about Steve.
Now that's one of those questions I've
answered before.
I mentioned before,
right?
That I've had to answer many times, but that's okay because it's nonetheless, to his credit, an important question to answer because, I mean, obviously it goes without saying he's a genius. And to grow up listening to a genius that you admire so greatly and then to be, invited into his thing it's just really surreal, but it also brings out the best in you. And then you realize your true potential when you're around such magnetic personalities,
right,
such as Steve.
Yeah, he really is a
How's
great...
that? I tried to answer it differently than you
normally do. Yeah, listen, you have to have, there is a certain stock quality to doing interviews, right? Where you have to have, there's some points you have to hit because a fan will write you and say, how dare you interview Gene Simmons and not ask about Paul Stanley? It's like, well, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Talk to me if you can then, maybe this has been asked before, but about the audition process. Did you have to sit there in sort of a cattle call and sell your wares? Or what was that like, sort of getting into the band and them coming to you? Was it more organic, or was it more sort of like, well, you're one of 10 and we'll see?
No, I just simply got a call and they said, we have a tour that's already booked in 6 weeks in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Indonesia, and we need you to sing for the band. I mean, that was it. And I said, well, surely there's an audition. And they said, there's not going to be one. So I didn't have to contend with any other singer on any level. I just stepped in and, there we went. And I don't even think I ever got an official, outstretched hand saying, let's shake on it. You're in the band. I mean, it was just, hey, we'll see you in the summer. See you in a couple months.
Wow, that's remarkable. That's a remarkable story.
Yeah.
Nobody's done that for me. Now, of course, the band is on, as we said, this 50th anniversary tour. And, of course, the band is not going to sort of go on forever. Where do you sort of see yourself? What's sort of your 10-year plan? Like, once the band retires or the band ceases to exist, do you have this desire to keep the music of Yes going? Do you sort of look around and say, uh-oh, what now? How have you sort of foreseen the next 10 years playing out for you?
No, I absolutely envision the Yes music going on, certainly. And I'll do anything I can, not to propel my own ego, but just because that's the nature of Yes music. Yes 50 isn't just a testament to the past and everything that's happened up to this point. It's also a confirmation that if Yes music can transcend so much, all the changes through the decades, and last 50 years, well, why not another 50 years? It's a confirmation of that. Why not another 100 years, so on and so forth? And even members of Yes, past and present, have always said Yes music could potentially go on forever. And why not? I mean, look at the great classical works that are timeless.
Yeah.
I think Yes has that same kind of quality. And that's something I want to say to, fans that are so divided now. That's the worst thing about all of this. It's not even members in Yes and members in ARW. It's the fans that bicker, that fight. That it's sad because, ultimately this music isn't about any one personality. Music's from a higher source. It's an inspiration. And these conduits of this inspiration, need to be acknowledged for, the great work that they brought to the public. But the music has to go on even without the personality. We would think it's an absurd notion today, looking back 100 years. People, at the time Mozart passed, they said, oh, we'll never go see a concerto of his work because he's no longer there to conduct it. That would be ridiculous to our standards today. But people are doing that in essence with all the bickering among the fans. And I hope John Anderson has a long life ahead of him, and I'd love to sing with him someday, and he's a hero of mine. But, his fans, not him, but his fans think that this music can't exist or be performed if he's not doing it, and that's just not so accurate, because it's more about the music and less about the personality. But it's hard for people to see that now, because we're too close to the origin of Yes. We're only within 50 years. But as time goes on, people more and more will naturally embrace this idea that the music can go on forever, and it's not ultimately about the ego or personality. It's about the timeless music.
Yes, yeah, and I agree with that. And in fact, I was having that conversation earlier with Lou Gramm. There is a Beethoven-esque quality to what all these bands have done. Yes, Rolling Stones, Beatles, Kiss, Aerosmith. People in 21 are going to be listening to this stuff. And of course, there won't be any original members left by then. And who cares? If Roundabout or Rock and Roll All Night or Walk This Way float your boat, well, let it float your boat, and just be glad that it's there. And so you're very, very right about that, And there you go. So, John, see, we did it. We got to 20 minutes. That was great. It's fabulous.
We had a few lofty concepts going about there, but it's nonetheless true, and I hope people are at least receptive to some of the things I said today. I want everybody to get along, and the music is so inspiring, and it can be so healing. And, the lyrics are about high vibration, go on. And then there's just the complete opposite. There's just ugliness on the internet. It's just so unfortunate for everybody.
Yeah, I think the most important thing as a rock star or as a performer is to just not read the internet. Get on stage, do the stuff, because there's going to be 10,000 people in that audience that just don't really care what is being said on Facebook. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah. I'm not even actively on Facebook. I have a musician's page that a third party kind of manages, and as people will notice, it's sort of crumbling.
Right.
Because I'm just not putting that much into it, because I'm just kind of discouraged with the mode of behavior online, and I don't even want to have a Facebook, and I'm just going to say that to all the naysayers out there, that I'm not reading all your criticisms. I'm oblivious to them. I might hear on the periphery that, somebody said something, but I never ask. I never want to know the details. So it's an act of futility to put me down any further, because I'm not even reading it.
Yeah, and nor should you.
High vibration, go on.
Absolutely. John, great pleasure today. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Mitch.
And hopefully we'll get to do this again soon, and would love to see you in Montreal shortly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, great talking to you.
Yep. Cheers. Thank you, John. Let me turn off.
Are we off the record now?
You're listening to Rock Talk with Mitch LaFon. Rock Talk.
It's the flashback sale at Mattress Firm. Right now, get up to $400 off throwback deals on beds. Plus, we're celebrating the year we were founded with a special price from 1986. A Sleepy's Queen mattress for just $169. Talk about a totally bodacious deal. But hurry in, these awesome blasts from the past savings won't last forever. Your budget stretches further at Mattress Firm. Restrictions apply. Valid at participating locations only. For offer details, visit mattressfirm.com/sale.
Summer.